Buckberg from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. We have a public conference call scheduled for 2:30, and we're kicking off just a minute or two late here. But I'd like to kick it off officially. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss the resolution of North Anna Combined License Application requests for additional information and other emergent topics. Specifically today, we're going to be talking about extreme wind-generated missiles. That's related to RAI 3.5.1.4-2. That is the 2:30 subject, and at about 3 o'clock we're going to begin talking about toxic gas analysis and related meteorological conditions. This is a Category 1 meeting. The public is invited to listen in to this conversation, and we'll have 2 opportunities to communicate with the NRC after the business portions of the meetings, but before we adjourn. So after the missile portion, we'll ask the public for comments, and after the toxic gas portion, we'll do it again. Any member of the public who's in attendance can contact me regarding feedback forms if you want to make any comments to the NRC about the meeting. And with that, I'll introduce myself again. I'm Perry Buckberg. I'm in the room here. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Okay, I'm also Chandu Patel. I'm a lead project manager for North Anna.
I'm Ryan Nolan. I'm in the Plant Systems branch. I'm primarily responsible for reviewing externally generated missiles from extreme winds.
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, Earl Bousquet, NRO.
Antonio Diaz, NRO. Would Dominion first, and then any of your contractors for support introduce yourselves, and I will talk to. I assume Gina or Ben are on the line. I'll get from you the complete listing of attendees afterward if I can't keep up.
Very good. Good afternoon, Perry. This is Ben Evans with Dominion here. At Innsbruck, I am joined with Tony Banks, Barry Bryant, and Wayne Nixon. Gina, are you on the line?
Yes, I am, Ben.
All right, got Gina Borsch here. Anyone else from Dominion that's dialed in? Okay. How about from GEH?
Charles Bagnall.
Bill Muscle, GEH.
Tim Farmer, GEH.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from Floor?
Yeah, Ben, this is Dan Howard at Floor.
All right, thanks, Dan. How about from Bechtel?
Mary Richmond, Lynn Vanderpool, Bechtel.
Okay, thanks, Bechtel. Anyone else from the consortium on the line? Okay, thanks, Barry. We're good.
Thank you, Ben. Any members of the public want to please identify yourselves?
David Martin, Chester, Virginia.
Thank you. Hi, David.
Hi.
Anybody else?
Erica Gray, Henrico, Virginia.
Hi, Erica.
Hey, Barry.
One more person I had contacted. Anybody else on the line? All right. With that, I appreciate everyone's introductions. We'll move ahead with the first subject here, and we have a response to RAI 3514-2 that came in July timeframe, July 28th, and that response gave some technical specifics, but then also said it was dependent on the ESBWR rule being issued, which way Dominion may go with a final response. And the rule was issued a couple weeks ago at this point, and that's kind of the background. I'll let Ryan and whoever else from Dominion want to have a back and forth here go from this point.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll let you guys start since you've had a time to look at the rule and finalize your approach.
That sounds good. Thanks, Ryan. This is Ben Evans again with Dominion. I'll speak on our behalf. So after we reviewed the design certification rule, we did determine that we should take a departure. Although we're technically going beyond the scope of the standard design, since we're going to make these written structures be able to, withstand winds and missile speeds that are stronger than what the DCD has. We're going to comply with the reg guide. So we determined our intention is to submit a revised response. I know the initial response said we would issue a supplement, but in order to provide just one neat, clean, clear package for you guys on what we're going to do, we're just going to revise the response. As far as the response text itself, the only real change will be to that first paragraph where, we stated that we would address the departure portion after the design certification rule was published. The rest of the response text will be pretty similar to what it is now. And we're also going to include any COLA changes that we're going to make. So I was going to briefly describe what our intent is as far as COLA changes for this new departure. First of all, we're going to create a new table that's going to go in section 19 alpha. This table is almost identical to the table that we provided in the original RAI response. And we're going to title that table Limiting Hurricane Missile Parameters for North Anna 3 Structures Housing Witness Equipment. And then additionally from that table, we are replacing a footnote in DCD table 19 alpha-3. We're going to replace the last footnote. It's going to state basically that the missile spectrum for the witness structures is going to
mute on.
The site-specific hurricane missile velocities calculated in accordance with Red Guide 1.221, and we're going to state that the limiting hurricane-generated missile velocities are shown in this new table 19 alpha-201 that we're creating. And then we're also cleaning up the existing footnote that we have in FSAR table 19 alpha-4R. We're going to change the last sentence to state the design of these structures also account for the Unit 3 site-specific hurricane-generated missile velocities calculated in accordance with Red Guide 1.221. The limiting hurricane-generated missile velocities are shown in table 19 alpha-201. So again, these two DCD tables, we're cleaning up the footnotes just to also account for the additional site-specific scope for the missile velocities and spectrum. And then there's two footnotes in FSAR table 2.0-201 that point to the DCD tables 19 alpha-3 and 19 alpha-4. So since we're replacing these replacing these DCD tables with our tables, we're going to edit the footnotes to make sure they're pointing to the correct tables as well. And those footnotes are Tier 2 star information, so we're going to make sure we discuss that in our departure evaluation in Part 7. Additionally, we identified one Tier 1 change that we need to make. There's a Tier 1 table 5.1-1, which is the envelope of ESBWR standard plant site parameters. We're going to add a sentence to a footnote in that table that states that the hurricane missile spectrum and velocities are adjusted as necessary to also envelope the Unit 3 site-specific hurricane missile velocities calculated in accordance with Red Guide 1.221. And then lastly, we're going to tie all this up by adding the corresponding information to COLA Part 7. That's the departures report and exemption requests. So we will have a departure evaluation for all of these changes that we're making, as well as an exemption request for the change to the Tier 1 table that we are creating. So that's all I had on my end. I guess I'd ask Ryan, does that kind of align with what you were expecting? Is there any additional information that you'd like us to kind of cover in this revised response?
No, I mean, that's exactly what I was expecting from your last RAI. So I have no further questions.
Wonderful. We, I think the date that we calculated was November 14th for within that 30-day window that we had originally stated in the first response for providing the follow-up for. We should be in good shape to meet that. Perry, I'll keep you notified if it looks like it's going to linger any longer than that, but that's definitely positive feedback to get on our end, so we should be able to make this happen pretty quickly.
And that was November 14th?
Correct. That's next Friday, or 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Gotcha. Okay. If Ryan has no additional questions, that suffices that topic.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
The next portion, actually, I'm sorry, before there's going to be a delay because one of the reviewers,
Let me see if I can get.
hang on for just a second.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry, the next topic, one of the main attendees from the NRC wasn't available till 3 o'clock. So, Ben, you kind of talk fast, and that didn't help any.
Sorry about that.
There we are. But like I mentioned, I was going to give the public an opportunity to comment on the subject we just discussed before we move on, and then we'll have somewhat of a delay until the next topic starts. So, Erica or David, do you have any comments or questions for the NRC?
Yeah, Perry, this is Erica. Yeah, well, obviously,
Mute on.
stuff that you guys use, so that kind of went over my head rather quickly. I guess what I would like to ask in basic, usual terms is, what kind of wind speeds are we talking about? And maybe as it goes for tornadoes, like what, F0, F1, F2, what numbers are we talking about and what wind speeds are we talking about dealing with tornadoes?
Ryan, want to take a crack at that?
Yeah, I think I can answer that. In 2011, I believe we came out with a regulatory guide 1.221 that talks about design basis hurricane and hurricane missiles. And within that guidance, there's contour lines that basically they're overlaid on a map. And so you can look at your location, and then you can look at the contour lines and figure out what those wind speeds are. And so, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's around 140, 145 mile an hour hurricane wind speeds. Does that sound right?
Sure, that's Category 5 or whatever for the U.S. or the highest category, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a 3-second sustained wind.
Yeah, Ryan, this is Dan Howard for the 140 is the number that we came up with in the response using the red guide map.
So it was 140 hurricane wind,
That's
3 second, 3 second. What did you say?
It's a 3-second gust.
Okay, so y'all are basing the wind speeds for hurricane and tornadoes to be the same?
No, that's just only for hurricanes.
Okay, and for the tornado, what were we talking about?
You don't have that.
Yeah, I don't have the tornado information in front of me at the moment.
So basically going on the 2011 regs for 140 mile an hour speed of a hurricane lasting 3 second gust.
Correct.
Wasn't there some discussion, and I'll try that, even though tornadoes may have a higher wind speed, they don't have sustained winds in one direction like a hurricane, so a hurricane was actually the worst case?
Well, I don't know. Look at that last E5 that happened in Moore, Oklahoma. That's a total different story, isn't it?
Well, we're talking about missiles generated, something flying through the air, a heavy object heavy enough to damage a nuclear plant.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I can appreciate the missile part. I'm just, wondering how that all fits in. I don't know what the strongest tornado we've gotten in Virginia, but I do know a few years ago in the Surrey plant back in 2011, we had a tornado touch down in their switch yard and knock out the electricity for the reactor's cooling systems. So, obviously the generators kicked back on. But are we talking about just missiles hitting the plant and not worrying about the spent fuel pad at all?
Well, this discussion was focusing primarily on non-safety related systems, classified under writness, regulatory treatment of non-safety systems. The fuel building would be a safety-related structure, seismic Cat 1, and those wind speeds are higher. So I think for ESBWR design, it was 330 mile an hour tornado wind speeds.
And that's ESBWR covers that basically.
Correct.
This is a departure where the ESBWR didn't encompass what the local or site-specific issues are for witness equipment, and that's why Dominion is making the change they're making.
Oh, so this is more dealing with the building that houses all the extra safety equipment? Or is this for the reactor building and et cetera itself?
No, these are all non-safety related systems. Yeah, the ones that the reactor building and those other safety systems are designed to a 330 mile an hour tornado wind and associated missiles.
Thanks, Brian. Did I answer the question pretty adequately?
Yeah, but I guess the other part was talking about missiles. What if a plane or something hits it? I mean, is that included in this?
No, that's a different...
Projectiles, is that something totally different?
Yeah, aircraft impact is a whole different area of the design itself.
Okay. Will there ever be any meetings on that, or do we have a link where we can see what was...
new reg... the rule in the new reg for ESPWR.
And there was an assessment and inspection that was done for aircraft impacts on the public website.
True, that's not
Harry can find that and give you a link.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ESPWR public website has links to the aircraft impact study that was done, which is not part of the new reg.
Okay.
It's a separate document.
But Erika, this is Chandu. Yes, we are going to document something, what we found as a part of the safety evaluation for airplane impact analysis, okay? Aircraft impact analysis. Mm-hmm. It will be on North NR docket, but it has not been completed yet.
Okay, well, I guess, when you get a chance, Mr. Patel or Perry, if someone could just email me that link, I'd appreciate it. I
will send you whatever is publicly available document. Yes, I can give you reference, what North NR or Dominion has reference, at least,
Right. Well, obviously I'm concerned about the spent fuel and the safety, obviously the reactor or whatever.
You're right.
I mean, when we're talking about projectile missiles and stuff, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely got to look at that for the design of the site specific, but, I would like to know about what the how we're going to safely protect the spent fuel that's all sitting out there on the pad.
Okay, see, let me just back off a little bit. When you said dry cask, that's really unit 1 and 2. Okay, we are talking here about unit 3. So
right, where is that spent fuel going to go? I mean, it's going to be obviously probably, is it going to have its own spent fuel pool as well?
Not in the near future.
No, I think she's asking for unit 3.
Yeah,
they will have separate...
Unit 3, will Unit 3 have its own spent fuel pool?
Yes, definitely yes.
Well, then obviously that spent fuel is going to spend some time, some years in the pool, but then it's going to have to come out and go somewhere.
Yes, you're right. You're right about that, but that's way down. Okay, right now, we are going to license the spent fuel pool for North NR 3. And, we'll evaluate the capacity and everything, as of now, okay, whatever they have applied for. And if and when they run out of the space, they will have to apply for dry cask storage facility, which goes to our another office, and they evaluate. Okay, but that will be long term, It's not like the next 10 years.
Right, but it still seems like it should be evaluated for the area before actually going forward and then having the fuel prior to actually having the analysis of the...
Okay, the evaluation for units 1 and 2 already exists, and that was issued by another office. This is the NMSS office, Nuclear Material Safety and Storage, I think. I can't remember exactly. I'm sorry for this one. So for units 1 and 2, and when it comes time for units 3 and 4 to decide that they too need to have a dry storage cask pad, they're going to apply for a review also from NMSS. NRR does not look at the storage fuel pad, dry cask storage fuel pad. We don't look at that.
So it's just another department.
It's another office, actually.
In another decade.
Nuclear Material Safety and Safeguards.
It's another office, but it's NRC's division.
It's an NRC.
It's an NRC office.
It's an NRC office.
Well, it's a whole different set of regulations.
Right? It's done under Part 72. So I don't know exactly where on the NRC site, but I am sure that you can have access to how they reviewed the dry gas storage bed for units 1 and 2. And if you need, you can contact NMSS and get some further information on that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Please.
Have you figured in a line of tornadoes hitting the site at one time? Back-to-back tornadoes slamming into North Anna?
Multiple tornadoes.
Would you repeat that, David? I'm sorry.
Have you figured in for a line of tornadoes, more than one hitting at the same time, back-to-back?
I don't think it's really exactly at the same time.
It can be.
But, yeah, I think they considered one massive tornado that they considered as the one that bounced just everything else. That's how they consider that. This is what that red guide talks about.
To put it into perspective, you were mentioning the fuel building quite often, and so as part of the ESBWR design, it's designed to a 330 mile an hour tornado. If you look at our latest red guide for tornadoes, which is red guide 1.76, it basically says the maximum tornado wind that you could have is 230, and that's an EF5. And so the design is actually well above what our latest guidance actually says to do.
But to climate change, the storms are getting more severe.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, David, I understand your question. I think, but see, these are the part of the regulation. It takes time for something to evaluate. If the environment changes so much, of course, we will have to revise our regulation. But as of now, it does not have multiple tornado hitting at the same time, okay, in the regulation. That's all we can tell you for now.
But then the design is far beyond what's in the regulation anyway.
Yeah, this design is a lot more conservative, at least as of today.
So you're not figuring in 10 years from now something could show up.
Right, and then the regulations can be updated as a result.
Yes, we will have to update the regulations. If that's if it's a frequent occurrence, we will definitely have to revise the regulation.
What exactly you mean by a multiple hurricane?
A tornado strike?
Multiple tornadoes, I understand. Yeah. Okay.
That's happening in the Midwest.
I understand. I understand.
In Virginia could have that next.
It could, theoretically.
Yes, it could.
Yeah.
Something to consider. Any more questions or comments from the public?
Well, I guess this is Erica. I mean, where did y'all come up with the 3-second gust?
That's in our guidance. That's how they calculated the wind speeds that are in the guidance. They use, I believe, an exceedance probability of 10 to the minus 7 per year, and with a 3-second gust.
This is Brad Harbour with the NRC. It's also an ASCE Standard 7 with American Society of Civil Engineers. Uses a 3-second gust as input to figuring out wind loads on structures. So that's a common wind load, common input to wind load calculations. 3-second gust.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Any additional questions before we let the staff go who were discussing the missiles? I think we're good. We're a little before 3 o'clock, but much closer now.
We are waiting for one more member, okay, for the next topic.
Mute on.
We'll keep on the line, actually. If I go on mute, I'll let you know. But thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How late are you here? How late are you here?
I am sorry.
Doesn't matter. Are we on mute?
No.
Okay. Can we go on mute, please?
Yes, we can.
The NRC is going on mute for the second time during this public telephone conference call. It's now 2:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Is the meeting up?
Stop.
Hi, this is Perry Buckberg. We've been on hold for a couple minutes, and we're now ready to continue our public conversation, our public call, that is. We now have John McCurgan and Danny Chen have entered the room. Brad Harvey spoke in the last meeting. He had come in a little late, and Kevin Quinlan to discuss meteorological conditions and toxic gas analysis. We had a conversation on the 2nd of October regarding inlet conditions if there was a fuel spill at the North End of 3 site, and we wanted to continue the discussion some and include meteorological conditions that affect the severity of such a spill and the gases that can make their way toward the control room, and how reasonable it is that you might expect such conditions. And that's my kickoff. I'm going to let the technical staff kind of take over at this point, so it actually goes somewhere.
Do you want
to take over, Kevin, or should I?
I'll let you start.
Well, so let me start. Thank you, Perry. This is John McCurgan. I'm Chief of the Containment Ventilation Branch. Perry, you summarized it well. We had a nice discussion last time with the applicant.